Remember the good old days when publishers could release games without multiplayer components and be confident that even with said omission, the game could be a commercial success? Yeah, those days are a thing of the past, and even though every now and again we see some major releases that don't try to shoehorn in a multiplayer component, but those instances are rather rare. And now it looks like Bethesda's megaton RPG franchise, The Elder Scrolls, may be making that jump too. Bethesda have posted a new job ad on the website of parent company ZeniMax, and while most of the requirements you'll read are pretty standard and more or less what you'd expect them to be, one of the desired skills Bethesda want in applicants is experience developing for online multiplayer environment. Is it possible that they're referring to a multiplayer component in The Elder Scrolls 6, or possibly one of the several other games they're supposedly working on? Capcom's Deep Down may not be anywhere close to a Western release, but the publisher has renewed its trademark for the dungeon crawler all the same. This is per a United States Patent and Trademark Office filing dated February 9, 2017. Usually a game needs to be released in order for a trademark filing to continue. One thing is for sure though, if Deep Down was indeed not coming to the West at some point, then Capcom would not have renewed the trademark. Deep Down is an odd game. It was first teased with the initial PlayStation 4 reveal back in February 2013, and despite updates and the like, it's not anywhere closer to a release. The game supports single player and multiplayer on the PS4, with dungeon crawling aspects and an aesthetic that reminded us of Dark Souls, which is ironic because we've received Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 3 since then. The Xbox Scorpio is apparently taking its position as the most powerful and advanced console ever made very seriously. It's not just specs where the Scorpio goes above and beyond though. Apparently the console will be supporting the newest possible standards, including FreeSync and next-gen HDMI as well. As Digital Foundry reports, in simple terms, this means that Scorpio supports AMD's FreeSync technology, as well as the upcoming variable refresh rate support that is built into HDMI 2.1 spec. This means that there will be reduced stutter and next to no screen tearing when playing on the Scorpio. Another second-order effect this could have would be enabling arbitrary frame rates, such as 45 Hz, with these technologies, enabling those frame rates without any visual abnormalities. This is in keeping with the Scorpio's status as the most sophisticated gaming console ever made. It should be interesting to see how much of an impact the system has on the market when it launches later this year. BioWare revealed once upon a time that it was exploring procedurally generated elements for Mass Effect Andromeda. This was eventually abandoned with many of the planets that players could examine from outer space being remnants of those experiments. Lead designer Ian Fraser has now told IB Times UK some more about the procedural tools governing the game in its early stages. On the gameplay front, I'll tell you we explored some very different designs early on. As you know in the game, you're the Pathfinder, and you've been tasked with finding these worlds to colonize and or make peace with the natives. Originally, we leaned much more heavily into that. We were looking at a game that used a lot more procedural tools to have a vast swathe of planets and places to go. We spent a lot of time developing down that road and tailoring the story towards it and so forth, and we quickly found it wasn't yielding the results we wanted. You can make a giant procedural game, but we are finding that the giant procedural game wasn't the narrative experience or the moment-to-moment experience we wanted players to have. There may be a day where the team returns to that procedural technology. Oh, it's possible. We explored it on several fronts. Procedural is a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot these days, as if there's one magic procedural tool that does it all. But we had some stuff we looked at for how terrains were generated and how we place content on planets, and a little bit of that actually survived and made it into the final game, even though we weren't using it for the same reason anymore. Players can still see some elements of procedural generation in-game though, especially with the Storyteller system. So when you're driving the Nomad around on the surface, some of the smaller scale conflicts you'll find are using a system we built called Storyteller, which is procedural. It's a game director of sorts that's asking, how long is it since this player has had a fight? How long is it since they've talked to somebody? And shifting around the odds of certain micro-events spawning based on that. What are your thoughts on the current procedural tools and perhaps seeing heavier amounts of this in the future for Mass Effect Andromeda? Let us know in the comments. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.